Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44. So, yeah, just wanted to get a little free talk in here. Just say a little something, see what happens. To clear my mind a bit. I just want to encourage everybody to address things as they come. Don't wait too long to address your mental health or address trauma or address anything that needs to be addressed. As a child, for me, growing up, I went through a lot of stuff that was very difficult for me to handle. Wasn't the worst stuff in the world, but it was as it pertained to me dealing with it and not talking some of that stuff out, not developing the right habits and developing the right practices made so that I've struggled a great deal as a grown man with stuff that I probably could have really just addressed as a kid and would have grown into having the right habits, knowing how to handle certain situations better, just knowing how to read situations better, seeing more variables, more angles to certain situations, and so on and so forth. So I just want to encourage all of us, everyone, including my very own self when I hear this back, to address things as they come. Don't wait, man. Don't wait. The brain, to my understanding from my experiences, it it takes on a little piece of every single impactful thing, everything, and it stays with you even if you try to let it go. Even if you have that ability to just kind of let shrug stuff off and sweep it under the rug or what have you, it will take pieces of everything and it will hold on to those pieces, and you have to have it in your practice to reset your mind, spit some of that stuff out, let go of certain things, talk certain things out, address things, and what have you, so that you don't carry too much baggage going forward. I know that I have tons of baggage that I have to let go of, and that's why I feel qualified to say all of this to all of you. Don't hold on to stuff, and don't think that it's gonna be easy to just deal with things without help. Some of us, I believe all of us, need to talk things out, find progressive and productive ways of letting go of frustrations, and not allowing ourselves to turn to easy crutches and exits as it pertains to our mental health and our spiritual health and what have you. Drugs will help you out. They really will, but guess what? They also create more problems. And in some cases can also take on more weight in regards to holding that baggage. It will cause, in some cases, more trauma than the actual issue will. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, it can, magnify more or less whatever your feelings are, whatever your issues are, whatever your frustration is, and somewhat skewer your behavior in dealing with whatever it is that's in front of you, depending on the type of mind that you have. So we develop dependency issues and different things that will keep us from really being able to not only see clearly, but let go of certain things sooner, creating more damage than necessary to even take on when trauma occurs. So that's what I have to say, man. I've gone through something very recently, very, very recently, that allows me to feel like this is what needs to be said. I got myself fired from that brand new job that I said that I wanted. And it boiled down to just not being prepared to be a professional, dancing around my very own mental health issues and not having the experience necessary due to how many times in my life I allowed myself to stay away from human beings, just staying in isolation. It left me naive in certain situations. It left me without understanding. It left me without a clear view of how to handle certain things. It left me without an education. You know what I mean? Like, this was my mental health that I was dodging, or rather trying to massage and cope with. And it kept me from just being around people day to day to understand how to best cover myself in certain situations, how to best help myself in certain situations, how to best maneuver around human beings just in general. Now, I know there's not going to be a lot of people who can relate to that, because you have families, you have siblings and parents and everything like that. You've grown up in a household where you've had to be mindful of a lot of different things. But if you were raised like me in a single parent household and spent a great deal of time without going to school, a great deal of time, pockets in your life during your teens and 20s where you just didn't leave the house at all, or if you were locked up in isolation in some way and you didn't get a chance to be out here in the real world, once you step out there, you're dealing with people who don't have that going on. They don't have that background. They have more of an understanding of how to maneuver, how to cover their behinds, and still manage to do whatever it is that they intend to do. And my inexperience and my issues in my head cost me. At the same time, I will say that I felt like that wasn't the place that I needed to ultimately land long term. So I knew that an exit from this place would be more or less on the way, but I did not intend for it to happen after a month of working there. But that's what I get for taking an entire year and some change off to just sit and not deal with anything. I really did that to myself, and it wasn't the first time. I've done it many times. I did it, as I've said, throughout my childhood and in parts of my 20s, where I can look at an entire year where I literally just sat in the house, away from everyone, isolated, alone, and happy about it. And it cost me a lot of experience. So I pay for that now. And though I don't think it was something I deliberately did to myself, what I didn't do was address my mental health, address what it was that I was going through, face my fears and face my challenges head on with help, so that I could start getting used to being in certain situations and being used to being a professional or a student, being used to being in part of teams and things of that nature that would allow me to understand what my responsibilities are in those situations. So I suffer now. But I suffer because it's meant for me to say these things to you. It's meant for me to help someone guide their children or guide their loved ones toward what it is that'll keep them from falling into those types of spaces if they are unable to be in those situations or in those isolation periods, like myself. All of us go through something. We all have challenges, but sometimes, for some of us, facing those challenges alone feel nearly impossible. I am fortunate because I have, in the last month, been able to walk away from some of my vices, pick up a new relationship with God, step away from certain things that I was involved in that weren't positive, that weren't helpful for my spirit, and ultimately change and turn around my outlook on life, outlook on how I wanted to approach it, and ultimately I learned how to begin the process of learning how to love myself, if not all in out loving myself for the first time in a very long time, without looking at others as a means of blaming them for what it is that I did or did not do that ultimately led me to being in some situations. I I've taken on responsibility, accountability for my actions, just as I have in this particular situation. Now, I don't want to talk about what happened because it's too fresh, nor do I really want to share that with the world, but let's just say I made the mistake of thinking that I understood how to handle something that probably shouldn't have even been addressed, and more or less put myself in a position to be a liability to the company. I did that, and I own the responsibility and the consequences of it. But because that happened, I now have an outlook to face the challenge of not only dealing with what happened, but also the understanding that I need to talk to someone about making sure that I let go of this and learning how to never let it happen again. I'm okay with what I need to do because I'm okay with who I am when it happened. And that's much more than I could say for at any other point in my life in the past, because I wasn't ready to make the sacrifices that I just made to be clear-headed, to be spiritually sound, and to be mentally focused on fixing my mental health. So yeah, it's gonna take a lot for me to get right. And I don't know how much time I have on this earth. No one does, but the fight is on to fix what I've done by making sure that I address what caused it. I can't right my wrongs or undo what's been done, but I can at least look at what I did head on and give it as much attention as it deserves, aloud, with someone else. So I'm going to be getting into some counseling, which needs to happen. You know, it's something I've been working on for a while, and I think this job has kind of kept me from it. Based on the schedule that I've had, I haven't been able to really catch up with my counselor and get this process started. So this free time will allow me to do that. I, of course, have to find another way to make some money or get another job, which is definitely on the horizon. Luckily enough, again, I'm clear and clean, so I should be able to confidently get in there and get another position. And fortunately enough, I have a vehicle now, so that should help in regards to whatever needs to be done. So I'm not worried too much about myself. I am ashamed. I am anxious. I am afraid of the uncertainty of what's in front of me. But I'm not without hope or strength. And I'm not without a voice, which is what I'm using here to hopefully steer people toward fixing whatever needs to be fixed, healing from whatever needs to be healed from, and addressing whatever needs to be addressed in your lives, as I must do in mine. If you're a believer, please pray for me. If not, in my name, work hard to try to fix whatever you need to, as I'll do the same for you. And thank you very much for listening to BDF. You all take care now. Peace.